Hello everyone. So in this video we are going to discuss about Introduction to Pharmacognosy, the first topic of the subject Pharmacognosy and Phytochemistry 1. So here we are going to cover definition of pharmacognosy, the scheme for pharmacognostic studies of a natural drug, and the history of natural products in medicine. So first of all, let us have a look at the definition of pharmacognosy. So, the subject currently, which is known as pharmacognosy, was initially known as materia medica. The term pharmacognosy, it is derived from two Greek words. What are those two Greek words? Pharmakon, meaning a drug, and gignosko, meaning to acquire the knowledge of. Okay, so it means to acquire the knowledge of drug. Then it may be defined as the study of crude drugs obtained from plants, animals, and mineral kingdom and their constituents. C.S. Idler in 1815 for the first time coined the term pharmacognosy in the title of his work Analecta Pharmacognostica. So pharmacognosy involves the study of crude drugs obtained from plants, animals, and minerals. So, apart from that, it also includes the study of other naturally occurring substances having a medicinal action. For example, the surgical dressings, which are prepared from the natural fibers, then flavoring and suspending agents, then disintegrants, filtering and support media, and some other associated fields, for example, poisonous and hallucinogenic plants, the antibiotics, the immunizing agents, and the raw materials for production of oral contraceptives, the herbicides, and the insecticides. So, these are all the things that are covered in pharmacognosy. It involves the study of all these. Then let us have a look that whenever we are studying any natural drug, what are the various parameters about that drug that we study? So first of all, we study about the official title, synonym, or the vernacular terms, then the biological source and family of that drug. So maybe it is obtained from plant, so the botanical source, the if it is obtained from animal, then the zoological source. Then geographical source means the area where it is distributed, where it is found throughout the world and in India, and its habitat. History and introduction of crude drug, that how this crude drug has been used historically, traditional uses. Then cultivation, collection, and processing of drug. Then what are the various morphological or macroscopical traits, that how are we are going to identify that drug by looking at it. Then microscopical or histological studies, so when we observe it under the microscope, what are its characteristic features. Then the most important thing, the chemical constituent, because these chemical constituents are the one which are responsible for the pharmacological action of the drug. So what are its chemical constituents, and the tests which are used to identify the presence of these chemical constituents, the qualitative chemical tests. Then pharmacological or the therapeutical action. So how does this drug act on our body? What are its various uses, medicinal uses? Then the various commercial varieties, substitutes, and the adulterants. And then finally the quality control of the crude drug. So these all are the parameters under which we study the details of the natural drug. So let us now discuss about the history of natural products in medicine. So in ancient China, so throughout the world, the plants have been the main source of medicine since the existence of human life on earth. Or we can say that the history of pharmacognosy is as old as the existence of man on this earth. So in ancient China, there was an emperor known as Shen Nang. Shen Nang, an emperor, has written the first herbal or the first literature, rather, which we can call as a book also. It is the oldest known herbal. The name was Pen Sao or Native Herbal. It consisted of 365 herbs. So 365 herbs, it was assumed that each herb for a day in a year. In around about 2700 BC, it was written. It consisted of the details of drugs like the podophyllum, rhubarb, ginseng, cinnamon, etc. So these all are still used for their medicinal purposes. Then there were some other clues regarding the usage of medicinal plants as medicine. So some inscriptions were found on the oracle bones from the Shang dynasty 1766 to 1122 BC. It is a record of illness, medicine, and medical treatment. Then some herbal formulas were used in the ancient Chinese medicine. These are known as the Kampo, Kampo. So Kampo were the herbal formulas on the basis of Japanese, Chinese herbalism. So next, moving towards the history in ancient Egypt. So in ancient Egypt, again, there is a record known as Ebers Papyrus. Commonly also it is known as Papyrus Ebers. Around in 1550 BC, it is a scroll. It is not in the form of a book, it is in the form of a scroll. It is a scroll about 60 feet long and a foot wide, and it is a collection of 800 prescriptions mentioning around 700 drugs. For example, senna, cumin, honey, etc. So mainly there were two types of papyrus ebers. One is your Edwin Smith papyrus, another is Kahun medical papyrus. So Edwin Smith papyrus, it was written in around 1600 BC. It contains surgical instructions and formulas for the cosmetics. Then the Kahun medical papyrus, it was written in around 1900 BC. It deals with the health of the women and it also includes the birthing instructions. Now let us have a look at the history of pharmacognosy in ancient India. So in ancient India, the drugs, rather in Hindi, what you call as jadi booties. So these were classified into groups known as the gunas, Gunas. Medicinal properties of the plants described in Rig Veda and Atharveda, which was written in around 3500 to 1500 BC, from which the Ayurveda has developed. So Ayurveda has developed from Rigveda and Atharveda. Ayurveda is the traditional medicine for ancient India. So Ayurveda, it consists of two terms or two words. It is made up of two words known as Ayur, meaning life, Veda, which means study, study of life. So the examples of drugs that were mentioned in Ayurveda include ricinus, pepper, lily, etc. Then the three main writings of Ayurveda were Charak Samhita, Sushruta Samhita and Astang Hridayam Samhita. So now moving towards the ancient Greece and Rome. So Hippocrates, known as the father of medicine. Okay, so Hippocrates is the father of medicine. Aristotle was known for his writings on animal kingdom, or he was also known as the father of zoology. Theophrastus wrote about the plant kingdom, or he is also known as the father of botany. Then Dioscorides wrote De Materia Medica. This De Materia Medica later on was transformed into the Pharmacopoeia. and Galen was the first pharmacist. Next, in 18th century, the pharmacognosy subject got transformed because here Linnaeus named and classified the plants. So the plants got their scientific names. At the end of the 18th century, the crude drugs were still being used as powders, simple extracts, or tinctures. Then in 1803, a new era in the history of medicine came where now the compounds were isolated, the molecules, the phytoconstituents from the plant individually were being isolated. For example, isolation of morphine from opium in 1804, strychnine, quinine, caffeine, then nicotine, atropine, and cocaine. So these are some of the very few constituents that were isolated in the ancient history of pharmacognosy. Then later on in 19th century, the chemical structures of many of the isolated compounds were determined. In the 20th century, the discovery of important drugs from the animal kingdom, particularly hormones and vitamins, then microorganisms also became a very important source of drugs. Thank you.